Good evening, all. Welcome to this virtual public scoping meeting being held on Zoom. The time is now 6:30 p.m. and we will start this meeting session. Please note that this session is being recorded. My name is Christopher Dunn. I'm with Highland Planning, and I will be the facilitator for this scoping meeting being conducted by the Niagara Frontier Transit Metro Systems Incorporated, or Metro. Today, we will provide information about the Metro Transit Expansion Project, describe the project development and environmental review processes, and obtain input from you on the scope of the Environmental Impact Statement, or EIS, being prepared under the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA. Translation services were made available upon request for this meeting, and American Sign Language, or ASL, interpretation will be provided live throughout the proceedings. As I mentioned, this meeting is being recorded and transcribed. A recording will be posted and available for viewing on the project website. For those who have registered to provide verbal comments, you will have 3 minutes to speak. If you have not registered but wish to submit comments, please submit written comments using the web link or email address provided. Please do not use the chat feature to submit formal comments. Comments submitted via the chat feature will not be entered into the record. You will be called to speak in the order in which you registered. If you have joined the meeting by phone and are registered to provide oral comments, we recommend that you rejoin the meeting using a computer or mobile app if you can. For those only able to join by phone, we recognize you will not be able to rename yourself or use the chat feature to inform us. You will be unmuted and we will ask you to state your full name. If you do not wish to provide comments, you can simply pass. Otherwise, you will then be given an opportunity to provide verbal comments. Press *6 on your phone to mute and unmute. If you did not register to speak, but would like to, please use the Q&A feature to request speaking time. A member of the project team will confirm with you when your name has been added to the list. Once all those who registered have had an opportunity to speak, and if time allows, we will begin going through the second list. As with pre-registered speakers, you will have 3 minutes to deliver your comments. You will be unmuted and asked to state your full name. This scoping meeting is for making comments only and is not a question and answer forum. It is an opportunity for you to present your views so that NFTA can consider them in making its final determinations. While this is not a question and answer session, if you have questions, you can submit them along with other comments and they will be considered and included in the public record. Questions and comments will be transcribed and incorporated into the final scoping report, which will be released on the website for public record. Please note all comments, regardless of whether they were delivered verbally or by writing, will be considered equally. Again, to be entered into the record, written comments must be submitted via the website, email address, or mailing address provided, and not in the chat or Q&A feature. For those who have not participated in a Zoom webinar meeting, all participants will be muted for the duration of the meeting until we open up the oral comment period for those who registered to speak. All participants will also not be on video. If you are experiencing technical difficulties and require assistance, there are 2 icons on Zoom that allow you to request assistance at any time throughout the meeting, the chat icon and the Q&A icon. Please utilize either icon to request assistance. If you would like to change the Zoom layout during the presentation, please go to the upper right-hand corner and scroll through the various layouts for your choice. If you are using the mobile app, please use the Q&A feature to request speaking time. As stated before, a member of the project team will confirm with you when your name has been added to the list. When your name is called, press *6 to unmute. Please visit the project website for additional information about this project and the environmental review process, including project materials and NFTA contact information, should you have additional questions or comments. Written comments will be accepted by NFTA until Thursday, October 14th, 2021 at 4 p.m. All comments received prior to that time will be made part of NFTA's record of this proceeding and will have the same weight as if spoken at this scoping meeting. However, comments received after Thursday, October 14th, 2021 at 4 p.m. will not be considered. We will now introduce Jeff Amplement, NFTA's project manager, to initiate the scoping meeting presentation.
Good evening, everybody. I am Jeff Amplement, NFTA's project manager for this project. We want to thank you for participating in the scoping meeting and look forward to your questions and comments. Today, we'll be presenting an overview of the project, what has changed since our last public outreach efforts, explain what the scoping process is, the environmental process and purpose and need for the project, as well as the two build alternatives that will be evaluated within the NEPA environmental process. We will also highlight the project schedule, how you can be involved in the project, and provide comments and questions. With us are representatives from the Federal Transit Administration, as well as our consultant team. And I'd now like to invite our FTA partners to provide a few introductory comments.
Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, hang on. I'm trying to start the video again. Hi, my name is Zoma Nukwe. I'm a community planner at FT, and I have Jonathan Howard with me. Jonathan, can you say hello?
Hi, Zoma, of course. Yes, this is Jonathan Howard. I'm a program manager with FTA Region 2 in New York.
And of course, we encourage you to participate, either provide your oral comments at this meeting or provide your written comments through email and or through the web portal that we're showing. So I encourage you to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Uzoma and Jonathan. I'd now like to turn it over to Scott Seibert with our consultant team, WSP, who is leading the efforts and completing the scoping process and the NEPA process.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Welcome. Again, my name is Scott Seibert with WSP. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to participate in the meeting. And as Jeff mentioned, we'll be providing an update to the proposed project and walking you through the scoping process. The format of the scoping meeting is to present the intent of the proposed project, the scoping process, the build alternatives under consideration, the NEPA process, and overall schedule. Again, all comments and questions will be equally considered and incorporated into the final scoping report, along with responses at that time. The NFTA Metro Transit Expansion Project is a transit expansion of the existing Metro rail service from University Station through Tonawanda and Amherst. The project is a 7-mile transit expansion, including 10 dedicated stations and 2 park and rides. A major goal of the project is to improve regional job access and sustainability and reliability. Since 1960, NFT has been planning for a 14-mile rapid transit project to serve both downtown Buffalo and Amherst. Metro and the Greater Buffalo Niagara Regional Transportation Council, GBNRTC, initiated the project's alternatives analysis, which is AA, in the fall of 2012. The overall goal of the AA was to evaluate a range of high-quality transit service alternatives to improve transit access between key activity centers in both Buffalo and Amherst, identify a recommended locally preferred alternative, known as an LPA, and enable GBNRTC to adopt the LPA as part of the fiscally constrained portion of the long-range transportation plan. 36 alternatives were identified as part of the AA process. The alternatives evaluated 4 modes: light rail transit, bus rapid transit, preferential bus, and enhanced bus, along 3 main alignments: Niagara Falls Boulevard, Bailey Avenue, and Millersport Highway. Metro recommended Niagara Falls Boulevard light rail alternative as the LPA. Metro then, as the lead agency, initiated the environmental review process for the project in 2018 and undertook a review of the environmental, socioeconomic, and fiscal impacts in accordance with the State Environmental Quality Review Act, known as SEQR. The LPA was further refined at the outset of the development of the SEQR EIS. The draft SEQR EIS was released in January 2020, and 2 public hearings were held in February of 2020 to provide an opportunity to reach the public and solicit input on the DIS. During the comment period of the SEQR DIS, FTA requested lead agency participation, requiring that the environmental review be conducted pursuant to the National Environmental Policy Act, known as NEPA. And last month, FTA issued a notice of intent for the project, which was published in the Federal Register, which is now the reason why we're beginning the NEPA process. So what's changed since the project last outreach efforts in 2020? FTA has become the lead agency for the project with NFTA as a co-lead agency. And what's this mean? Now that FTA is a lead agency, all federal projects must meet and follow NEPA procedures. The benefit of this effort is that the project will be able to use all of the efforts conducted during SEQR. In addition, a second build alternative will be considered during NEPA. The EIS will evaluate both a bus rapid transit and light rail transit alternatives. By completing the NEPA process, the project will position itself to enter FTA's New Starts project development, which is the first step in receiving approval for federal capital funding assistance. So what is scoping? The intent of the scoping process is to allow the public and agencies, both local, state, and federal, to provide their input on not only the purpose and need, but their insight and input and comments relating to the build alternatives, the environmental impacts and concerns, or the project in general. It is initiation of the NEPA process and helps identify environmental concerns early in the process to ensure that throughout the NEPA process, they are evaluated and addressed. Comments received during the secret process meeting held in January 2019 were also incorporated into the secret DIS back in January 2020. The findings of the secret DIS and the written oral comments received during the public hearings and any comment received during the DIS public comment period that ended in March 24 of 2020 will help also inform the development of the new draft EIS pursuant to NEPA. Comments on the scoping report are highly recommended throughout the various platforms. As mentioned at the outset of the meeting, public attendees have multiple platforms to provide comments. There'll be an opportunity for those who sign up prior to the meeting to provide vocal comments and questions. If time allows at the end of the meeting, we'll open up for additional verbal comments for those who sign up during the meeting. And all comments received in any method will be equally weighted and accounted for. Comments are appreciated through the various platforms, either on the project website, which is www.nftametrotransitexpansion.com, throughout the project email address, transitexpansion@nfta.com, or via mail. Comments are welcome until 4 p.m. on Thursday, October 14th of 2021. At that time, a final scoping report will be developed, summarizing all comments received during the scoping public comment period. And during the meeting, the team are only presenting the scoping process, but not providing responses. Responses to the comments and questions will be included in the final scoping report that will be released to the public via the project website upon review of FTA. The draft scoping report is currently available on the project website for your review. The initial step in the environmental review process is issuing the notice of intent for this project. The notice of intent is the formal federal announcement that FTA and NFTA intend to prepare an environmental impact statement. The next step is to develop a scoping report and conduct a scoping meeting to solicit comments from the public and agencies on potential environmental and physical impacts that need to be evaluated. Through the evaluation process, the draft EIS will evaluate the potential effects of both build alternatives on the environment and identify mitigation measures to avoid or reduce adverse effects. Once the DIS is completed, there'll be another opportunity to comment during the public hearing on the process, results, and mitigation measures. The project purpose is to link established and emerging activity centers along the existing Metro Rail line in Buffalo with existing emerging activity centers in both Amherst and Tonawanda, and to provide a fast, reliable, safe, and convenient transit ride. The project would also improve livability by increasing mobility and accessibility in communities throughout the region. And the project's need is to serve both existing and future rider demand, provide high quality to regional transit service, and improve service for the transit-dependent population. Throughout the EIS, the project will be evaluating two build alternatives, a bus rapid transit alternative and a light rail transit alternative. The project is intended for both transit modes to provide fast and reliable service within a dedicated guideway. So both build alternatives will be utilizing the same alignment for a majority of the corridor. They are both a 7-mile extension from UB South Campus to the I-90 Audubon interchange, including 10 stations and 2 parking rides. And each build alternative includes an overnight storage facility. So for the light rail transit alternative, the existing system will extend underground through UB South Campus, under Kenmore Avenue, and then under a small portion of Niagara Falls Boulevard. Near Kenilworth Avenue, the light rail alignment will exit a portal and operate in a dedicated median along Niagara Falls Boulevard to Maple Road. The light rail transit will then traverse through the northwestern corner of the Boulevard Mall property and enter into the dedicated median of Maple Road up to Sweet Home Road. Through the intersection of Maple Road and Sweet Home Road, the alignment will go under the intersection and then run along the eastern side of Sweet Home Road to Wrench Road. Light rail transit will then cross Beiser Creek on a separate bridge and traverse through the UB North Campus towards Audubon Parkway. Light rail transit will then utilize the northbound lanes of Audubon Parkway to the I-90 interchange and end within the new Muir Woods development. Since state and local agencies are studying the potential conversion of Ottawa Parkway to a two-lane facility utilizing the southbound lanes, the light rail transit alignment will be able to reuse the parkway's northbound footprint. As for bus rapid transit, the alignment will operate as the same as light rail transit, with the exception of two locations. The first is that riders will need to transfer from the existing light rail vehicle underground and traverse up to grade level at University Station onto a bus rapid transit vehicle. Once the bus rapid transit vehicle will leave the University Station and operate in mixed traffic along Main Street, Kenmore Avenue, and Niagara Falls Boulevard. At Kenilworth Avenue, where the light rail transit portal would be located, the bus rapid transit vehicle will then enter into a dedicated median and follow the remainder of the light rail transit alignment. The second change is that bus rapid transit would operate through the intersection of Maple Road and Sweet Home Road and not traverse under the intersection. So as mentioned earlier, the two different operational locations are identified in the red circles. The southern end highlights where light rail transit would operate underground until Kenilworth Avenue, while bus rapid transit would operate mixed traffic. While at the intersection of Maple Road and Sweet Home Road, light rail transit would be separated underground through the intersection, while bus rapid transit would operate through the intersection. During the environmental review process, both the build alternatives will be analyzed within each of listed environmental factors to identify, if any, potential impacts. The project will rely on previous work conducted during the secret process and expand the analysis for the inclusion of bus rapid transit as a build alternative. As was conducted in the secret process, the project will also evaluate traffic operations for bus rapid transit, conduct conceptual designs, and identify potential right-of-way needs. We'll also conduct wetland delineations within a study corridor and evaluate noise impacts on the bus rapid transit build alternative. The secret process identified potential mitigation measures to improve traffic operations within the roadway network and to reduce impacts due to potential increases in noise decibel levels, and also to improve pedestrian and bicycle connectivity along the corridor and to the stations. So during the NEPA process, the mitigation measures will be reevaluated and expanded through the analysis with the addition of bus rapid transit build alternative. So what are the next steps for the NEPA process? As the schedule identifies on the screen, the scoping comment period will end on October 14th at 4 p.m. and we're compiling all comments received during the 45-day comment period. Those comments and questions will be compiled and included in a final scoping report and released on the website for auto review. Over the next few months, the secret DIS will be updated along with additional analysis to complete the draft EIS per NEPA and released for review and comment. After public hearing will be conducted in the fall of 2022, where the public and agencies will have another opportunity to comment on the findings and locally preferred alternate alignment. Comments will be addressed and any additional analysis conducted prior to developing the final EIS in anticipation of receiving a record of decision from FTA. So as noted throughout the presentation, comments on the scoping report are highly encouraged throughout the various platforms mentioned earlier. The draft scoping report is on the project website, and all comments received by any prescribed method will be equally weighted and accounted for, and then included in this final scoping report. The comment period again will close on October 14th, 2021 at 4 p.m. We will now transition to the comment period to allow the pre-registered attendees to provide their comments and questions verbally. You'll have 3 minutes to provide your verbal comments. Please note that all comments will be recorded and transcribed, and the project team will not be providing a response to the comments or questions. Rather, those responses will be found in the final scoping report that will be issued at a later date. Attendees are also able to provide comments using the web link and email provided. We thank you for your time and interest into the project. At this time, I'll transition over to Chris at Highland Planning to open up the public comment period. Again, I appreciate your time and interest in the project. Have a great day.
Thank you, Scott. Please listen to the following information about today's scoping meeting. To make oral comments, pre-registration was requested. A registration link and detailed instructions for the participation in the virtual scoping meeting was provided in public notifications for this meeting and was made available on the project website. Currently, we have 21 speakers. Each speaker will be provided up to 3 minutes to speak during this section of the scoping meeting. I will be keeping time and will jump in when your time is up. Please listen for your name to be announced when it is your turn to speak. As mentioned, written comments will be accepted via the web link, email address, and mailing address provided until 4 p.m. on Thursday, October 14th. Finally, please identify whether you are representing any organizations, government agencies, or municipalities in the delivery of your public comments. As a reminder, if you did not register to speak but would like to, please use the Q&A feature to request speaking time. A member of the project team will confirm with you when your name has been added to the list. Once all those who registered have had an opportunity to speak, and if time allows, we will begin going through this second list. As with pre-registered speakers, you will have 3 minutes to deliver your comments. You will be unmuted and asked to state your full name. Please keep your comments free of personal attacks or profanity. Continued use of inappropriate language will require us to end your speaking time prematurely and move to the next speaker. We will now commence the public comment period. And first, we'd just like to read out the one phone number that we have and identify the person associated with that phone number. So we have a phone number, 716-510-6399. I'm going to allow you to talk so you can just identify yourself and let us know if you would like to deliver an oral comment. And you may have to unmute yourself. Okay, well, we can return to this user since we're not hearing a response at this time. We will now start with the oral comment session. Our first speaker is Simon Husted. Simon, you will have 3 minutes to speak. You will have to unmute yourself. And if you could just start out by repeating your name and spelling your name for us, that would be appreciated. Thank you. Again, Simon, you may have to unmute yourself.
Am I muted?
We can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, yeah, so Simon is S-I-M-O-N, Husted is H-U-S-T-E-D. And I live in South Buffalo, 54 Hayden Street. I'm also representative of Buffalo Transit Riders United, a group that started in 2016, following cuts we saw from 2012 as a result of the Great Recession. We're all about improving access to transit service where it's most needed. I honestly don't think Amherst is that huge of an area that needs transit service, but I am in support of the project as it is a net positive. I have a friend who, she lives on the west side, commutes to Barnes and Noble, for a part-time job, and takes, walks 20 minutes to Metro Rail and then has to connect with the 34 bus. I think it's kind of disingenuous. I love bus rapid transit, and I think we need to have more of it. Absolutely. Like, we should at least be at the same par with the city of Albany. But to extend our light rail and morph it to a bus rapid transit, it's just like a disservice. Because quite frankly, one of the hardest parts about using transit is not how much time we spend on the bus, but also how much time we spend waiting for a bus. And to ask people to make a connection between the light rail and the bus rapid transit line is just disingenuous. I mean, it'd be best to not have any transfers, 14 miles, no needless transfers. It's, we already have all that infrastructure, all of the goddamn escalators we prepared and everything. Let's extend it to 14 miles, like most light rail lines actually go. And focus bus rapid transit on areas that truly do need it, like Bailey Avenue and Broadway, and hell, we could even do some on parts of like South Park, I think, areas that just have, right now, little service. The whole, and I hope if, this seems like we're spending so much time talking about this stuff and not doing anything, planning, but little doing. I hope we can at least turn this around and probably implement this in areas that truly do need bus rapid transit, like those neighborhoods I referenced earlier. But that's all I have to say. Again, the light rail is a far better option simply because people would not be needlessly waiting for a transfer. Okay, thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speakers who are present are Denise and Jeff Horowitz. Denise and Jeff, you will have 3 minutes to deliver your comments. If you could please restate your name and spell your name for the record, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Hi, this is Jeff Horowitz. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. My comment will be this. I've seen many projects done by our Democratic and political leaders in regards to past projects such as the 33, which now everybody wants to cover up, the present Skyway, which everybody wants to take down, or the downtown rail, which everybody wants to take down. I think the leadership should take a look at this project and say what they're saying about the 33, where it divides a community. You're looking at a narrow street. You're looking at expanding the traffic, the snowplow, all types of different things with already Niagara Falls Boulevard has issues with people getting killed. So my comment is put it where we need it, down to the medical corridor. Thank you.
And I would like to say something. This is Denise Horowitz. We have lived on this stretch of the street that will be the above ground part of the rail, and it will be running down the middle of the road where a turning lane exists close to Long Meadow intersection and Niagara Falls Boulevard. As I understand it, I was at the last scoping meeting. Anyone who would be coming from Kenmore Avenue heading towards Sheridan and they live on the Tonawanda side will no longer be able to make a left-hand turn into any of the residential properties that exist on that entire stretch, unless they make a U-turn down at an intersection. I'm concerned about the snow removal at the end of our driveway, the snow removal on the sidewalk, backing out of my own yard to get into a street, to travel in the wrong direction so I can finally turn around to go where I need to go. I believe the noise level will be increased, vibrations in the street, and I'm wondering where 4 lanes of traffic reduced down to 2 lanes of traffic are going to go once the rail exists on this street. Are they going to be on Bailey Avenue in front of the Amherst Police Department? Or are they going to be racing down Millersport Highway and doing big circles all around the town of Amherst to get where they need to go? I really don't believe this is a necessary project, and it only benefits UB campus on Main Street to UB on Maple Road. Thank you. And I look forward to hearing what your answers are.
One more additional comment. I'd like the media to take a look at where this ends up on a Northtown Plaza, which is dead. And also take a look at the media at the Boulevard Mall during the course of a day and look at the parking lot. This goes nowhere.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We will now move to our next speaker, James Gordon. James, you will have 3 minutes to deliver your comments. Please restate your name and spell your name for the record. Thank you.
Hello, my name is James Gordon, James Gordon. I was born in Buffalo and I live in North Buffalo near Delaware and Hurdle. I am a University at Buffalo graduate with a degree in Management of Information Systems. I attended UB in the 1990s. I worked full-time at UB's North Campus for more than 20 years. I commuted to UB from North Buffalo using Metro Bus, Metro Rail, UB's private bus rapid transit system called the Stampede, and by bicycle. Most of the time, I did not drive my car. Tonight, I am not representing any organization. I am familiar with the issues and alignments under consideration. UB's current private bus rapid transit system utilizes a 4.2 mile long corridor on Millersport Highway. BRT fails due to bus bunching from congestion at Maple Road, Sheridan Drive, and Main Street. The current BRT is unable to reliably meet the transportation needs of university students, faculty, and staff. The PLA adds additional congestion challenges at Wrench Road, Maple Road, and Kenmore Avenue. The PLA does not explain why a tunnel is required for making a left turn from Maple Road east to Sweet Home Road North for the LRT, but not for the BRT. The same factors are in play. BRT needs a tunnel there just as much as LRT. With 5-minute BRT headways, on average, every 2.5 minutes in both directions, traffic signals will have to stop all the other traffic long enough to clear the gridlock and congestion and allow the BRT buses to pass through. LRT with 10-minute headways meets capacity needs with less impact on cross-street traffic. It is unlikely BRT will be able to operate without significant bus bunching. The PLA is not a rapid transit plan. A rapid transit plan would extend the existing subway from UB's South Campus Rapid Transit Station underground to Clemens Hall on UB's North Campus. The trip time would be cut from 20 minutes down to 6 minutes. I think the subway extension alignment and cost should be reconsidered in the analysis. New tunneling technology may cost less now. The subway option would require no buses, fewer train sets. It would be climate resilient. It is the most reliable alternative, being unaffected by ice, snow, sleet, and rain. The subway would produce no operational greenhouse gases and cost less to operate than the PLA options. The subway extension would provide the desired one-street ride. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We will now move to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Ashley Kinney. Ashley, you will have 3 minutes to deliver your comments. Please restate your name for the record and spell it as well. Thank you. And you will also have to unmute yourself if you're having any challenges in that department. We'll just give Ashley another moment here. Okay, we will move on to our next speaker, Karen Peisinger. Karen, you will have 3 minutes to speak. You'll need to unmute, and if you could just restate your name for the record and spell it as well, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Karen Peisinger, Karen. Last name is Peisinger, Peisinger. I would like to say that although James Gordon is supporting, and I have a great respect for James Gordon, I also work at University of Buffalo, and he and I have had some email communications about NFTA. I would like to say that I support the bus rapid transit option over the train option. The reason I say that is that BRT is more flexible. With the train, you have a tunnel and you're stuck with that tunnel. Additionally, I am not convinced that it's obvious that since they're going to North Campus, UB's North Campus, while the ridership might be there, I don't know that you should count on one entity to provide your ridership for such a big undertaking. Bus rapid transit is more flexible. If you find out that the route is not going to work as well, although there are infrastructure work that has to be done, it's easier to move that than a train tunnel. Train tunnels take a long time to build. I ride the train except for times when we have single tracking like we have right now, which is inconvenient. So I'm taking a bus. So I'm walking 25 minutes to catch the bus. And then I'm walking 10 minutes to my office. So my commute is an hour and 15 minutes because I live down at the Buffalo River in Old First Ward, and there is not adequate bus transportation down here where I live. So the train has not been my friend. I've been using bus, but that is not as convenient. And I think bus rapid transit will provide the convenience, it will provide the flexibility, because although the infrastructure is going to be there, it doesn't have to be permanent. I've ridden rapid transit in other cities, Seattle, Albuquerque, and those have functioned just fine. So again, I support bus rapid transit for multiple reasons. I will probably also submit written comments, and I would like to thank you for this opportunity to express my opinion. Have a nice evening.
Thank you for your comments. We will now move to our next speaker, Karen Taylor. Karen, you will have 3 minutes to speak, and if you could restate your name and spell it for the record, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Karen Taylor, KarenTaylor. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Great. So I live in the Audubon community, and my concern is with the train coming beyond campus into the residential community. So I support the bus component of this. I think the light train would cause unnecessary noise and vibration pollution in a residential community. I would hope that if we do this expansion, the train could end at the UB North campus and not go beyond up into the Audubon community to the 990. I think that by the study that was presented in the past, there would be very few riders that would ride the train beyond the North campus. I think it would be a waste of our tax dollars, and it would just disrupt a serene, quiet community, and I see no need. So maybe there is a ability to somehow do train between the North and the South campus, and if we were going to run anything beyond the North campus, have it be a bus. But my overall opinion would be that we don't need the train expansion at all, that it would just be with busing. I think we actually already do have the UB Stampede bus to fulfill the needs of the students from the South to North campus, but my major concern is not to disrupt a residential community beyond the UB North campus on Audubon past the police station. I think that's it.
Thank you for your comments. We will now move to our next registered speaker. Our next registered speaker is Colin Cross. Colin, you will be unmuted and be allowed to speak for 3 minutes. If you could just restate your name for the record and spell it as well, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Yep, just to confirm, you can hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Perfect. My name is Colum Cross, COLUM-CROSS. So I have a few points I want to hit on. First and foremost, I believe LRT is way better than BRT. A good bus rapid transit, the only difference between a good bus rapid transit and light rail transit is that bus rapid transit has rubber tires. The problem with going with BRT over LRT is, like people said, you're committed to tunnels, you have to put rails in. That means you're committed to the project. With BRT, you have something called bus rapid transit creep, scope creep, which means that now, yeah, sure, it's going to be the same as the LRT, but oh, we don't have enough money. Let's not do the dedicated lanes. Let's make the bus lanes on the outer side of Niagara Falls Boulevard. Let's get rid of the bus lanes completely. Let's, not run it this way. And then the next thing you know, you have the Route 34, which already exists. So go LRT. A couple other things. One, everyone says that this is only going to serve the Buffalo North Campus. That is incorrect. This is going up past Audubon Parkway to a park and ride that would absolutely serve the tons of people who have moved to Lockport and commute to downtown Buffalo. I know several people that move to Lockport and commute to downtown Buffalo. Another thing that's brought up, and it keeps getting brought up on the public maps, is traffic. You're going to close 2 lanes in either direction on Niagara Falls Boulevard for this light rail. What's going to happen to the traffic? Simple. Take the train. Yes, you wonder where all of this traffic's going to go. It's going to go on the train that you're building. If you don't want to be a part of traffic, if you hate traffic, don't be a part of it. The only reason there's traffic is because you want to drive. You're not physically, connected to your car. You can take the train, and that's what people should be doing. And people will be doing it if you put a park and ride up in Audubon, and I know the phase 2 is to bring it all the way to Cross Point. People from Lockport will be driving down there as opposed to clogging up the interstates and Niagara Falls Boulevard to get into work. You talk about noise. Well, if there's like hundreds of fewer cars driving through Niagara Falls Boulevard, cars are louder and buses are louder than a train. A train is much quieter than those things. So the noise will go down because the traffic will go down, because the traffic will go down because people will be taking the train that we're building. The other big thing is the timeline. I'm very disappointed that the timeline is this far out. I mean, just for the environmental plans, I mean, we needed to have built this yesterday. I know people that have graduated from UB. They say, well, we already have the UB buses that go up. I know people say that they didn't take the UB buses. They said if the light rail that is proposed now existed back then, people from UB would be coming down to downtown Buffalo constantly, and you would have this bigger economic development. People that go to UB would stay in Buffalo. Buffalo has increased its population for the first time in 10 years. We need a light rail to mimic that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Phil Basinski. Phil, you will have 3 minutes to speak, and if you could restate your name for the record and spell it as well, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Phil Basinski, B like Bravo, A-S-I-N-S-K-I. I've owned a business on Niagara Falls Boulevard in the affected area since 1989. What's interesting to me, and it touches a bit on what the previous commenter had to say, is the existing traffic on Niagara Falls Boulevard. And what is very interesting is the fact that eliminating basically 3 lanes out of a 5-lane major thoroughfare that connects Main Street to the North Towns is going to be rededicated to a light rail transit or bus rail transit, whichever way you want to look at it. The issue that we've had, at least in previous comments, is that either north or southbound traffic is subject to incredible disruptions due to service vehicles, whether it be garbage trucks, school buses, or delivery vehicles during peak times of the day when people who aren't convinced that riding the rapid transit is going to be the best option will end up turning that into a parking lot in terms of the slowdown of traffic. Additionally, the previous comments that were made at other meetings, I have not been able to see them addressed or published in any of the subsequent releases of news from the NFTA. Specifically, when the train emerges from underground, I believe by federal law, it's required to sound a train whistle, which exceeds 120 decibels, which far exceeds the stated limits of what the noise interruptions would be. In addition to that, comments were made about rerouting the entire project underground, and specifically the cost of maintenance of an above ground system versus an underground system, and how that may impact the overall cost of the project over a 50-year lifespan. Additionally, there is the issue of traffic that will avoid Niagara Falls Boulevard and redirect down secondary streets through neighborhoods, either north or southbound on the Amherst or the Tonawanda side, and the impacts that may have onto the local residents, whether they have children in play, waiting for school buses, etc. Another comment about that is the fact that people who can't necessarily access a park and ride conveniently are more than likely going to be parking along the side streets near and proximal to Niagara Falls Boulevard. I haven't heard anything addressed, again, from the NFTA or any of the oversight commissions that specifically have spoken to any of the previous concerns about this, and would like to know where and when they may be released, and what the overall cost of the project is going to be over the course of 50 years, whether it's light rail, bus rail, or underground. Finally, and this is very important, it touches on something a previous commenter said, and that is the flexibility of this entire project. A fixed base system like an LRT is going to be with us for a lifetime, whether we use it or not.
Thank you for your comments. We'll now move to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Roisin Doherty. Roisin, you will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. If you could spell your name for the record and repeat it one more time, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Sorry. My name is Roisin Doherty. My first name is spelled R-O-I-S-I-N. My last name is spelled D-O-H-E-R-T-Y. Buffalo in the 1970s had a plan for a visionary light rail system that would bring back some of the glory days of Buffalo's streetcar system. However, because of opposition, the main line was never finished and the line was stunted, with the line going from an undeveloped waterfront to an underused campus with little effort to propose transit-oriented development due to NFTA's plan to run the light rail underground in the suburban residential section and above ground in the narrow downtown. This flew directly in the face of all previous light rail development across the world and led to the stunted growth of the light rail system. We now have the chance to fix these wrongs and give the suburbs of Buffalo and the future generations the ability to have the light rail system and safety from the high-speed traffic along NFB that they deserve. Amherst is a part of the NFT area, has to pay for bus transit in crowded roads with no dedicated lanes and excessive noise due to the nature of rubber wheels on asphalt. They have to pay for a transit system they deserve a transit system worth paying for, that's quiet and has road calming and has fast light rail service. Not only will it make NFB significantly safer for children and pedestrians, but families would not have to worry about speeding out of a driveway at 50 mile-an-hour traffic, because let's face it, nobody follows the speed limit on NFB. With Buffalo's predicted growth due to climate change and lower costs of living, traffic will only continue to worsen along NFB and arterial roads due to growing population and lack of transit to UB, forcing car dependency. Adding lanes doesn't work. Only expanding access to the public transit truly dampens traffic problems. With light rail, we can have higher capacity, lower intervals, and faster travel. Less parking lots at UB will create more jobs as the lots are replaced with new buildings and they hire more local employees to work on campus, as well as build all of this new development. This means more workers commuting to the light rail system, all while promoting business along the corridor and significantly increasing the value of NFB-facing housing. With a system that will be built to last longer than any bus and decreasing the wear on surrounding roads so families can avoid an increase in potholes that Western New York is famous for. In conclusion, I would like to remind those reviewing comments that the polling has shown that light rail expansion to be overwhelmingly popular. It'll improve traffic, it'll make home values rise, it'll attract small business, it'll increase business, it will keep your roads in better condition and keep them quieter, because the light rail is the safest, greenest, quietest, best, and only solution good enough for Amherst, Buffalo, and the NFTA system. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Beru Kodadad. Beru, you will have 3 minutes to speak, and if you could repeat your name and spell it for the record, that would be appreciated. Thank you. And you will also have to unmute yourself. Okay, we'll just give Beru just a moment here. All right, we will move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker who is registered is Jomo Okono. Jomo, you will have 3 minutes to speak. If you could repeat your name and spell it for the record, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Jomo Okono, Jomoakono. I'd like to thank you for holding this session. I'm a Western New York resident for 50 years. I totally believe and I'm dedicated to the idea and the concept of this project being able to provide greater accessibility and options to residents throughout Western New York, not just residents of Buffalo or Amherst or Lockport, but for all of those included. As we realize that this region is growing rapidly, Erie County, City of Buffalo residents have increased as according to the last census. Many people who are going to school and moving to the region are staying in the area. Many people are used to other options of transportation, not just driving cars and being clogged up on streets and expressways and highways. I believe that this project will be safe, economical, energy saving, And as stated before, it gives accessibility to different areas of development for a growing region. One, it gives access to people to have options in employment, being able to choose and have greater opportunities to have jobs in different locations. Gives people access to educational opportunities in different parts of this region. And it also increases commercial opportunities for those who have businesses throughout all of the regions that we are locating. And at the same time, not destroying the immediate local impact of those who live in areas as opposed to having higher traffic patterns. In addition, I am a carpenter. I am a member of the local carpenters union, and I believe that the impact of having local hire is very important. So I would love to know in the comment section how intentional will NFTA be included. One, in supporting local professional development. That means hiring local and regional workers. Two, increasing and maintaining the professional workforce of those local workers. Also making sure that we have apprentices training the next generation, and also the intentional plan about being diverse as far as business opportunities, as well as making sure that hiring is diversified. These things I think are very important. It gives greater accessibility to options in life for this whole region. I am very proud of this region, and I think that it's time for us to move into the 21st century and maintain as much high and dignified quality of life as we can. I believe we have the ability to do better. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Light rail also is what I was, LRT is what I was in support of.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your comments. I would just remind folks that this is not a question and answer session, so NFTA will not be responding directly to comments tonight. However, responses will be available in the scoping report issued in the coming months, so you will be able to see any responses to your comments at that time. Our next speaker is Danielle Darots. Danielle, you will have 3 minutes to speak, and if you could just repeat your name and spell it for the record, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Danielle DeRose, D-A-R-O-W-Z. I'm speaking tonight as a taxpayer and Amherst resident in opposition of the subway expansion. I particularly have concerns of the environmental impact. If underground, what will this do to drainage within nearby neighborhoods? And what will this do to the stability of aging homes and businesses' foundations during the blasting and digging? We are in a high radon gas area, and will these gases be admitted to the air, and will this become a public health concern? When Niagara Falls Boulevard was built in the 80s and 90s, I was growing up in the town of Tonawanda. There was a major rat problem all the way to Englewood. I imagine the Amherst side had issues too. Environmentally, buses powered by natural gas, electricity, and hydrogen fuel cells are available. In development, would be a much better option. Given to the cost to build this, how many people will be needed to pay fares to make an ROI on this investment? Excuse me. If there is this much of a demand, I would think that if UB is pushing this, they could help fund this project. I did ride the Metro Rail for 1 month after I graduated to my job at M&T. I quickly learned that if you were stuck at work late, how unsafe that the Metro Rail was. After that, I started to pay for parking and drove to work every single day. And finally, economically, it's a major waste of my taxpayer dollars that could be better spent elsewhere, and jobs are becoming more work from home, which reduces the need to commute and less cars on the road. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We will now move to our next speaker. Douglas Funke is joining us by phone. Douglas, you're unmuted. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. And if you could just repeat your name for the record and spell it as well, that would be appreciated. Thank you. And if you are trying to unmute yourself on the phone, you will have to press *6. All right, we'll give Douglas just one more moment here to try to unmute. Okay, at this time, we do not have any more registered speakers. If there are any attendees who would still like to speak at this point, please feel free to use the Q&A feature to request speaking time. When you do so, please just state your full name and we will allow you the same 3 minutes to speak that other pre-registered speakers were allowed as well. We have Nicole Brown, who has just registered to speak. Nicole, you will have 3 minutes to speak. If you could just repeat your first and last name for the record and spell it, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, my Mac is weird. I don't know why. It's acting weird. It has been very, very interesting to hear the various opinions about the train expansion. I truthfully am for a combination of both. As a person who understands the difficulty of getting around without having a car, for instance, all of my doctor's appointments and all of my doctors are on main bus routes. And sometimes those doctors are in the burbs. So I have a dermatologist that's far past, that's on Sheridan, but it's so far out that people wouldn't use the buses and they canceled routes. So a concern of mine is that these options are made truly accessible to everyone. Also, I think that for people who are concerned about a tax benefit, I know that my job, at least, I work for Buffalo Public Schools, they offer an employee deduction. So when you get a bus pass or any type of parking pass, you put the month, how much a month you need deducted pre-taxes from your wages, from your paycheck, and that's given to you. So it's, as a person who takes a combination of both, and I've had to work jobs really far out, which means I need to wake up 3 hours early to catch that one bus. And if I miss that one bus, I'm 2 hours late. I think that is something to be in consideration, especially from Amherst to even certain town, West Seneca, Larkinville, which is actually somewhat downtown. So yes, those are my comments and concerns.
Thank you for your comments. At this time, we have no more registered speakers. We do have one other person calling in by phone. That's a 716-380-6080. I'm going to allow that person to speak, and if you could unmute using *6, you could just let us know your name and if you would like to deliver a comment. Thank you. Doug is actually going to speak since he's in the same room with James. So James, I will unmute you, and Doug, you can deliver your comments that way. And again, you'll have 3 minutes to speak, and if you could just repeat your first and last name and spell them as well, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You are a little bit quiet, though.
Okay, I'll try to speak loud. I'll turn my speaker up. Thank you for your patience. And it's very frustrating. I kept getting kicked out of the meeting. I think it was my own connection problem. Just who I am. The game name is Douglas Funke. It's DOUGLAS FUNKE. I'm a retired transportation research engineer. I worked for over 30 years at CalSpan in the Transportation Research Department. I'm currently the president of Citizens for Regional Transit Advocacy Organization. I also served on the Project Advisory Committee, the NFTA committee that was advising the NFTA throughout the process of picking the preferred alternative. That was a several-year process. There was other committees also providing inputs. A lot of work went into that. a lot of deep analyses and discussions and so forth. There were also several public meetings over those years, again, with a lot of public input, with presentations and so forth from the NFTA. The result of that was selection of the light rail alternative. I hope we don't lose all of that valuable work and the public outreach in terms of making our selection and then jump to another alternative that really didn't serve as well. A couple of quick comments about why it's so important in our view to choose the light rail alternative. First and foremost is capacity. Every light rail 4-car train can carry 600 people comfortably. You can squeeze more on after a Sabres game or when you really need to, but 600 people comfortably at every 10 minutes. If you compare that to bus rapid transit, buses can carry 50 people. So if you want to carry the number of people going from UB, to the Main Street campus, you're going to need a lot of buses that carry that many people, and you're not going to be able to achieve the headways you need to really successfully do that. The light rail was part of the original plan 40 years ago. I'd hate to see that not actually come to fruition now that we finally are able to move forward. And then the last point is if you do go with a bus rapid transit, you're going to have a 2-seat ride. So people going from UB, which is going to be a large proportion of the riders on light rail, they'll have to get off the light rail, wait for a bus to continue and so forth. And that's not a good option. So thank you again for your patience and letting me talk at the end here. And again, we really, really support the light rail alternative. It's the best alternative that can do the job that we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. There are no more registered speakers, so we will keep this session open until 8 p.m. But attendees are free to go. As there are no remaining speakers and the time is now 8 p.m., this session of the scoping meeting is now closed. As previously stated, the public comment period remains open for submission of written comments through October 14th, 2021 at 4 p.m. Thank you for your attendance, and please have a good night.